So hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how you can get this type of hair from Blender into Unreal Engine. So in this tutorial I will show you the whole pipeline, how I export the Blender hair simulation into Unreal Engine. And you can see there, this is actually Blender hair simulation that I exported in Unreal Engine 5. So for demonstration I will create a new level sequencer so that you can understand the whole process easily. So I will just create a new level sequencer in this one. I will just create test like this. This one. We'll save this thing, and then simply you have to add your MetaHuman like this, and then we have the MetaHuman control rig. You have to remove everything from the MetaHuman rig and face rig. And then you have to press on add. I will just attach my animation. So there is my backflip animation, you can see. So I attach my animation to the MetaHuman, and then what you have to do, you have to stretch this thing to the end of your animation so it's covered the whole area like this. So after this, what you have to do, you have to just go a little bit forward, hold your left mouse and then drag this whole thing forward, so you will create this type of gap in the front. And then what you have to do, you have to just right click, bake to control rig, MetaHuman control rig, and then press create. So it will create your MetaHuman rig. So you can see it looks like this. So I did this thing because this gap, if you want to do some kind of cross simulation, so you have to make sure that your object is in the T pose and not in A pose. So it is better to have a T pose instead of A pose for claw simulation. So in my case I'm doing the claw simulation also. If I show you my level sequencer, so you can see it is first in the T pose and then it gradually when you straight up everything, you can see it looks something like this. You have to click on your this rig and you have to add the keyframe, because if you didn't give any kind of keyframes in this one, it will be not applied the animation to the character. So you have to just click on those. You see now it will go like this gradually and then it will be go to that position. Okay, so right now it is doing this weird switch, so you have to fix this also. So you have to go to this one, this square one, and you have to rotate your character into 90 degrees, and then you have to just give a keyframe, and in this one also 90 degrees, and you have to just give a keyframe. So you can see it is holding that position and then it snapped to that animation. And if you don't want this type of hand down stuff, then what you can do, you can minimize everything and you can just duplicate this thing. So you have to just press shift, middle mouse, hold, and then drag this thing like that. So it will be copy this keyframe and you can just place this thing there, and what will happen now, it will stay on that position for a bit and then it will slowly go down. Okay, like that. So after this, what you have to do, you have the whole animation right there with this T pose. So now you can do any kind of claw simulation also in this one. You have the T pose also, and you can do the hair simulation also, and it looks something like this. And you have to make sure that your red line is properly at the end, or else it will not add the keyframe at the end. You can see right now there is missing. So for the demonstration purpose, I'm not gonna change this thing. And if you do this type of stuff, then you have to remove everything, delete this thing, your animation, and do the whole process again from the start, and it will fix your issue. Okay, so right now I will not gonna do this because I already did it in my main level sequencer. I just use this level sequencer to show you, so it doesn't matter also. So after this, what you have to do, the main stuff happens right now. So if you watch some tutorials on YouTube or any other website or anywhere on internet, so you will see something like this: to export the mesh first, then the skeleton of the metahuman, and they try to do some kind of bone deleting and try to retarget that bone to the mesh and try to fix that thing in Blender. So that's a next level hustle, and if you try to do that same thing, your brain will be blast. It is so hard to do, and you have to do a lot of things, like you have to retarget bones to the mesh and all stuff to get that same metahuman rig into Blender. So there is an easy way to do this stuff I found recently. So the thing that you have to do, you have to just click on the body, and you have to right click on this one, and there is a big animation sequence. You have to click on this one, and I will just choose a position, okay, and export the animation as a sequencer. So it can take some time to do the animation. You can see it's completed right now. You have to just go to your folder where you save your animation. So in my case it was there. So now you can see there is an animation sequence, and if I double click this one, so it's totally baked into this mesh, and you can see it is properly doing the stuff. So right now it is showing the complete mesh, but when you export this thing into Blender, it will just show only the body of this thing. Just make sure that how many parts of the body are separated, and you have to create everything separated. Okay, you have to create those many animation sequencer. So for the body, it was already there. We need to retarget the face, so you have to just right click on this one. There is a replace skeleton, and then you have to just click on the face, this one, and you have to press OK. So when the face is done, you have to double click this one, and you can see now the face is properly animated. You have to close this one. Now you have to go to the pants. You have to right click. So in the pants, you don't need to replace the skeleton. What you can do is very simple. You have to just go to this mesh option, and you have to just choose your pant. So in my case, it was this one, cargo pant. You have to just apply to the assets, and then you have to go to your shoes, double click this one, and then the shoes are already there, so you don't have to change this shoes. You have to just apply to asset this thing and then save. So now you can see we have the body, we have the face, we have the pants, and we have the shoes. Okay, so we have 4 different type of animation sequences, and the advantage of this thing is, so when you export this sequences into Blender, what will happen is it will export the mesh and the bones and the animation all together in a single piece. Okay, so you don't need to do any kind of bone retargeting or mesh, that all stuff, the old one. So this is a new method you can try. It's very useful. So I will just show you the Blender one also. So after this, what you have to do, you have to just right click on this one, not right click, you have to double click, and you have to open this animation, and then there is the option of export asset. You have so when you press on save, you will see something like this. And in this one, you have to make sure that you untick level of detail, and collision will be on. You just have to copy the options that I use in this one, and make sure that you use export morph targets. Just tick the box that you're seeing in this one, and just follow the whole stuff. Okay, so and then you have to just click on export. Okay, so this is the most important thing, or your animation will not export properly to your XPX format. Okay, so after that, when you export all your animation, this 4 animation, and it will just create some kind of animation preview meshes. You don't need this thing, you can remove this stuff, and you have to just export everything into into FBX format, and then you have to open your Blender. You have to click on import FBX. So there is my one body mesh. So if I click on this body mesh preview, and make sure that you turn on the animation. So if I click on import FBX, you can see my all animation is baked into the mesh, and it works perfectly fine. So you don't have to do any kind of like mesh, like animation retargeting in Blender. It just works perfectly fine. Okay, so you can see it works perfectly fine, and it transfer all your mesh, bones, animation, everything into one. Okay, so like this, it will look like this, and you have to just import everything like that. Your head, your face, your shoes, and your pants, everything from Unreal Engine to that one. So in my case, I just show you these things, but if I show my full body stuff, so there is my full body stuff. I will just do not save this thing. So right now you can see there is my full body, and I do the same process. So it just copy all the animation into this one, and it works perfectly fine. But you will face one problem with the head, the face one. So the problem is, like, if I just create a new one, so if I export my head mesh with the same process, like click on this one, preview mesh, like this, and I will just export the face. I will just click on save, make sure that the box are properly ticked. Yeah, and I will just export this thing. I will just click on file, import FBX. I will just go to my location. So there is my face mesh, and if I import this thing, you will see an error. So you can see there is a Python error, and you can see like there is no motion in this one. So I don't know why this thing happens, but I got a solution for this one. You have to go to your browser, and then you have to write Autodesk FBX converter. Okay, you have to write this thing, and you have to go to FBX converter, and you will see something like this. You have to just click on window, and make sure that you download 2013.2 version, this one, not the 3.1, because in 3.1 there is a virus, but in 2.1 there is no virus. So just make sure that you download this thing, the last one. So when you download the software, you have to just install this thing. It will look something like this when you open it for the first time. So what you have to do in this one, you have to just export your face mesh into this one, and it will be convert the FBX into another FBX that is compatible with the Blender, and you have to just click on convert. So it will create a folder into this one, you can see. It will take some time, and the mesh is converted. You have to just double click on this one, and now you have to import this mesh into Blender. So if I show you, if I remove this thing, if I click on File, Import, FBX, you can see 2013. I will import this mesh into Blender. And now you can see the problem solved. The animation exported properly and everything works fine, okay? And if you want to remove this weird all skeletal, just go to this one, not this one, this one. And there is a, I think, bone option. Yeah, bone. Take this one, and yeah, you see it works perfectly fine. So like this you can export everything. I will just remove this thing for now. I will open my Blender file that I created, so this one. So yeah, when you export everything, it will look something like this. And you can do all kind of hair simulation, like you can do claw simulation into this one because you have depose. You can do hair simulation like this. You see, I do the hair simulation into this one, and you see this is doing all the hair simulation like that. And after that, you have to just create your hair simulation. So in this tutorial, I'm not gonna show you the hair simulation, how to do this hair simulation. The one tip that I want to show you is that I want to give you, not show you, is when you do the hair simulation for this type of animation, like the complex animation, backflip or some kind of too much movement stuff, then you have to make sure that you, in the particle settings, when you do the hair simulation, you have to make sure that you use much like quality step, like too much, like I use 80, and in the collision quality I use 30. So this is like too much. The whole hair simulation took me like 2 hours to bake, so it will increase your render time. But this type of animation, I think this is the best thing to do, because I try with the lower value and I try bunch of settings. Just for now, you have to make sure that when you apply the hair simulation in this type of complex movement, you can see multiple backflips and all type of stuff. So you need more samples like this quality step to get better quality of your hair. So yeah, that's the only tip I want to give, because I try all type of values from like 10, 15 to 5, everything. So best thing works for me is 80 and 30. It will be depend on your system also, but if you're increasing this value in this one like 80 and 30, then it will just increase your render time a lot. I will explain this thing in other tutorial. So after this, what you have to do, you have to just do your hair simulation or claw simulation, whatever you want to do, but I will show you the hair one right now. So you have to just click on the mesh. After doing the hair simulation, you have to go to your file, and then you have to click on export, and there is a Alembic file. Okay, so we are exporting this thing into a Alembic file. So you have to click on Alembic. So the first thing you have to change is you have to go to scale and you have to write 100. Okay, and then you have to make sure your frames are good enough, and you just untick everything. Untick this one also, particles, just tick export here and untick everything, and make sure this one is on render, and select the object and visible object, this one. Okay, and just select your directory where you want to save this Alembic file, and then export. Okay, it will take a little bit time, not that much, like 10 to 15 minutes depending on your hair simulation, how heavy it is. So yeah, after that I will show you the Unreal one. So the first thing you have to do, you have to go to your edit and plugin, and you have to enable groom plugin. Make sure that you enable this to plugin, and it will show for a restart. You have to restart your computer, not computer, like you have to restart your Unreal Engine, and then you have to just create a level sequencer. If I show mine, so you can see, so you don't have to create any kind of level sequencer. You can use the one that you use for the baking animation. This one also, you can use this thing also. It will be better to use this one because you already have the MetaHuman control rig and you do this thing also, so use this thing. Okay, but for showcase I will just show how I use this thing. Okay, so there we have the camera and there we have the BP. Okay, so the next step is how you can export import that hair simulation into Blender. Okay, so you have to just open your file. So you can see there is my file, and the other tip I want to give you is make sure that you have enough hard drive space in your PC, because it will take a lot of space. You can see it is 60 GB for 400 frames, so it's gonna take a lot of space from on your hard drive, so make sure that you have enough space. So after this, what you have to do, you have to just export this Alembic file into this one. So right now I will just export this thing there, but make sure that you properly export it into a folder. So you will see something like this. If you are not seeing this type of window, then make sure that you enable the plugin that I show, and you have to just change this thing to rotation to 90 and scale to -1. You have to change this thing or it will create some kind of rotation problem in Unreal Engine. You can use guides, so you can try with all also, but sometimes it crash the Unreal Engine. So just try these things. First try with guides, and if it's crash, then try all. Okay, so for my case, guides work perfectly fine for me. So you have to just leave everything like this and you have to click import. Okay, so after importing this thing, you will see something like this, and it's gonna take a little bit longer, like 15 to 20 minutes depending on your Alembic file size. So mine is 60 GB. It took me like 20 minutes to export, not 20, like 15 minutes. So it depends on your Alembic file size, how big it is. So if I show my Alembic file, you can see, you will see something like this. Okay, and the other problem you will face, like when you export everything and there will be a autosave option will pop in this area, you have to cancel that thing. Okay, because if you just autosave this thing, your Unreal Engine will crash. Maybe in my PC it was crashing, I don't know why, but you have to just cancel that thing and you have to save your project from this area. Okay, so this is the another tip you have to follow. And there we have the two different Alembic files, not Alembic, one is Groom and one is Groom Cache. So you have to click on the MetaHuman, and then you have to just click on the edit blueprint. You will see something like this. You have to open this thing and you have to click on viewport. You can see, so in this one you will see hair option. So in the hair option, in the groom asset, you have to just attach this groom asset to this one. Okay, so it will take some time. You can see now it is attached properly. Now you can see there is a rotation problem in the groom one, but you don't have to be worried about this thing because we twist our MetaHuman into the control rig, if you remember that. So that's why it is doing this stuff, and it doesn't create any kind of problem. So you have to leave this thing like that, and then you have to click on the guide cache, and then you have to just scroll down like this, and you will see the groom cache. You have to attach this file to this one, and yeah, everything is done. And make sure that you turn off the looping, because if you enable this thing, it will loop the animation in this viewport and it doesn't feel good. So just untick this one, and then you have to close this thing. Okay, so when you in your main viewport, you see it looks perfectly fine. It aligned with your mesh properly. And if it is not aligned yet, like if you're getting your hair is in the ground or in the left or right, then try to go to your blueprint and try to edit this thing into this one. Just do some up and down 90 degrees rotation. Most of the time you have to just rotate this thing into 90 degrees. It doesn't matter in X direction or Y direction. You have to just do 90-degree rotations, because from Blender to Unreal Engine there is a 90-degree like little bit the head is moving like this, if I show you. And yeah, the other thing, okay, the most important thing I forgot. Okay, so after this you have to open your level sequencer, and the level sequencer, you have to click on the face. You have to click on add, not this one. You have to go to your BP, this one, and you have to select hair. Then it will be add a hair option like this. So, and then after this you have to click on the hair plus, and then you have to enable the groom cache. Okay, so it will apply the groom cache also, and then your simulation will be applied to your this one. Okay, so you have to follow this step properly. And after this you will see some kind of mismatch in your mesh and your hair. So it will look something like this. If I show you, it will look something like this, the timing matching stuff like that. So what you have to do, you have to just untick your magnet, this, disable this thing. You have to zoom in to your frame, and you have to just do this thing manually. Just move this thing up like left, right, and try to move the whole hair forwards like this, and try to match this thing like this. Okay, so it will be matched with your skeleton properly, and it will be simulating properly if I undo everything. So you have to just do some kind of hit and trial in this one, so like this, and at some point you will see your hair is perfectly matched with your skeleton, not skeleton like in your meta-human, and you can see it is properly follow the meta-human. If I show you, you can see it is properly follow the path of the meta-human head like this. Okay, so you have to do some kind of hit and trial, and now you can see there is a popping like this. So you have to just deal with this thing. You have to just go up and down like this, left and right, and you have to just align this thing like that. Okay, and yeah, and I'm not saying that it will be perfectly matched with this thing. It will not. I don't know why, but it doesn't match perfectly with the meta-human head. I don't know, there is some kind of popping stuff also in the blender. I didn't see any kind of popping like this, but when I export this thing into Unreal Engine, it just mismatched this thing. I don't know why. So you have to just deal with these things, and you have to just make sure that you are using a proper camera angle for this one. So when the hair is popping like this, make sure that you do not capture that angle. Just move your camera in some other direction, yeah, something like this, because if you try to do simulation in other stuff and try to export in Unreal Engine 5, there will be some kind of problem in these things. It will not be perfect every time, but you can see we can use this thing also. It is doing perfect job, but in some areas it just popped the head a little bit. It is what it is, like stuff. So you can't do anything about this. So you have to just deal with these things, and make sure that you use separate type of camera angle like this, where the head is popping. You just hide that angle, sorry, not angle, like that portion with your camera angles like that, and yeah, it will work perfectly fine. And the Unreal Engine hair simulation is not good for film making stuff like that. It is made for games basically, so it is not that much high quality, and it is for basically for real time, so there is not that much detail of hair simulation. So that's why I use Blender to create my hair simulation and yeah, everything. Okay, so yeah, it was just like that. You can see it is matching quite a bit good, quite good. So with, yeah, you see there is a popping in the head in this area, you see. So when this thing happens, you have to just go down or just go some else camera angle, or you can fast forward that area, and yeah, you have to just deal with these things. You can't do anything. So if I get something more accurate stuff or any kind of method, then I will definitely make another tutorial for this one. For the hair simulation, I will make another tutorial how to create this type of hair simulation in Blender, because if I try to combine everything in one tutorial, then it's gonna be so long, no one will watch. And yeah, that's it for this tutorial. Thank you for watching.